have a disturbing revelation today that will make you wonder how cruel humans can be. In a recent report, the UN added Russia to its list of shame. Brutal UN adds Russia to list of shame for killing, maiming hundreds of children in Ukraine, death and maiming of several defenseless children in Ukraine. How could such heinous deeds be permitted? Why do the activities of the armed forces tear apart the lives of children? Join us as we explore the gruesome facts and examine the pressing need for protection and justice for these vulnerable victims. According to a report presented to the UN Security Council, the Secretary General Antonio Guterres has revealed that in 2022 alone, 136 children lost their lives due to the actions of Russian forces and affiliated groups in Ukraine. These children, innocent and full of hope, had their futures tragically cut short. But the horrors don't end there. Ukrainian armed forces, too, were responsible for the deaths of 80 children. These numbers are not just statistics, they represent precious lives, dreams extinguished, and futures stolen. Each number is a story of a child who will never have the chance to grow up, to learn, to laugh, and to make their mark on the world. Shouldn't the protection of children be a non-negotiable priority for all nations, regardless of the conflicts they may get mixed in? The report also highlights the distressing fact that 909 children suffered severe injuries during these conflicts, with 518 of them falling victim to Russian forces and proxy groups, and 175 to Ukrainian forces. These innocent young souls bear the physical and emotional scars of war, a burden they should have never had to carry. How can we turn a blind eye to the suffering of these children? How can we let their voices go unheard? Isn't it our moral duty to protect the most vulnerable members of society and ensure their safety even in the midst of conflict? We'll go thoroughly over this report, investigating its conclusions and the pressing need for protection and justice for these vulnerable victims. Stay tuned as we explore the shared obligation we all have to protect the lives and futures of children impacted by armed conflicts, highlight the seriousness of the problem, and debate the gravity of the situation. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, was straightforward when the report's terrible revelations came to light. He voiced his profound worry and outrage at the serious abuses committed against children in Ukraine. Let's examine the Secretary General's response in more detail. In the report distributed to the members of the Security Council, Secretary General Guterres highlighted his shock and appallment at the high number of attacks on schools, hospitals, and protected personnel. He specifically called out the actions of Russian forces and affiliated armed groups for their significant role in the killing and maiming of children. Can the Secretary General's words bring about the change and accountability needed to protect children caught in the crossfire? By adding Russia to the list, the Secretary General is sending a clear message that the international community will not tolerate the targeting of innocent children. The report documented 136 deaths attributed to Russian forces and affiliated groups, as well as the use of 91 children as human shields. Such acts are not only deplorable but also in violation of international humanitarian law. So now we are faced with a few more raised questions. What does it mean for a country to be added to the United Nations list of shame? How does this designation hold offenders accountable for their actions? Will Russia respond to being included on the list of shame? How will this designation impact the ongoing conflict and the lives of children in Ukraine? Can this moment serve as a turning point, leading to increased protection and accountability for children affected by armed conflicts worldwide? We can only wait to find out and hope for the better. The United Nations decision to add Russia to the list of shame has drawn attention and support from various human rights organizations. One such organization is Human Rights Watch. Let's explore their response to this critical development. Human Rights Watch has welcomed the UN's decision to call out Russia for its actions in Ukraine. The organization's advocacy director for children's rights, Joe Becker, emphasized the importance of holding Russia accountable for the horrific violations against children. Joe Becker further states, hundreds of Ukrainian children have been killed in apparently indiscriminate Russian attacks on apartment buildings and other civilian structures. How does Human Rights Watch's response contribute to the broader conversation on protecting children's rights in conflict zones? What implications does it have for future advocacy and accountability efforts? Will their stance influence policy making and foster greater international cooperation in safeguarding the rights of children during times of conflict? As we reflect on Human Rights Watch's response and their emphasis on accountability and protecting children's rights, it becomes evident that addressing these grave violations requires collective action and a commitment to upholding the principles of justice. And 2H, let's now take a look at Russia's denial of the allegations and the warrants issued by the International Criminal Court, shedding light on the complex legal dimensions surrounding this issue. While the United Nations has placed Russia on the list of shame for its actions in Ukraine, Russia has vehemently denied targeting civilians and questioned the validity of the International Criminal Court's warrants. Let's examine Russia's response and the implications of the ICC warrants. Russia has consistently denied targeting civilians since its invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. However, it's worth noting that the International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Russian President Vladimir Putin and Maria Lvova-Belova, Russia's envoy for children's rights, for charges related to the illegal deportation of children from Ukraine and the unauthorized transfer of individuals to Russia. However, Russia has dismissed the warrants as legally void, citing its non-membership in the ICC treaty. These warrants accuse them of illegal deportations and unauthorized transfers of individuals from Ukraine to Russia. How does Russia's response to the ICC warrants and its denial of the allegations impact international perceptions of the conflict? What message does it send to the global community? Will the international community find alternative avenues to hold Russia accountable and ensure justice for the victims? As we delve deeper into Russia's response and the implications of the ICC warrants, it becomes apparent that the situation is complex and raises fundamental questions about accountability and the protection of children during times of conflict. Join us as we explore the verification of violations against children and the broader implications for global efforts to safeguard their rights. The UN Report on Children in Armed Conflict provides a comprehensive overview of the violations committed against children in various conflict zones. Let's dive into the key findings of the report and understand the magnitude of the issue. So what does the UN Report reveal about the impact of armed conflict on children? How widespread are the violations and which countries are most affected? The annual report compiled by Virginia Gamba, the UN Secretary General's Special Representative for Children in Armed Conflict, sheds light on the grave violations experienced by children. It covers a range of atrocities, including killings, maiming, sexual abuse, abduction or recruitment, denial of aid access, and the targeting of schools and hospitals. According to the report, which countries do you think have witnessed the highest number of violations against children? Are there any notable trends or patterns? The report identifies countries such as the Democratic Republic of Congo, Israel, and the occupied Palestinian territories, Somalia, Syria, Ukraine, Afghanistan, and Yemen as hotspots of child rights violations. It reveals that while non-state armed groups are responsible for 50% of the violations, government forces are the primary perpetrators of killings, maiming, attacks on schools and hospitals, and the denial of humanitarian access. But how does the report address the responsibility of state actors and non-state armed groups in protecting children's rights? Does it propose any recommendations or strategies for improvement? The report emphasizes the shared responsibility of state actors and non-state armed groups in safeguarding the rights of children. It calls for concrete measures to be put in place to protect children from harm and proposes strategies to improve their well-being in conflict-affected areas. As we conclude our discussion on the UN Report's findings regarding the violations against children in conflict zones, it is crucial to reflect on the urgency of taking action to protect the rights of these vulnerable children. The report's distressing statistics and grave violations demand immediate attention from the international community. It is our collective responsibility to ensure the rights and well-being of children are safeguarded, even in the midst of armed conflicts. Are there specific steps that governments, international bodies, and individuals can take to make a difference in the lives of these children? First and foremost, governments and armed groups must prioritize the protection of children during times of conflict. They must strictly adhere to international humanitarian law, which prohibits targeting civilians, including children, and ensures access to essential services such as healthcare and education. It is crucial to hold perpetrators accountable for their actions and provide justice to the victims. International organizations and civil society have a crucial role to play in advocating for the rights of children in conflict. They should continue to monitor and report on violations, raise awareness, and pressure governments to fulfill their obligations under international law. Moreover, individuals like you and me can make a difference by supporting organizations working on the ground to protect and empower children affected by conflict. Whether through donations, volunteering, or spreading awareness, our collective efforts can create positive change. So guys, this is it for today. Hope you found this video informative. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and share this video for spreading awareness. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more news. We will see you in the next one. Till then, take care and goodbye. Take care and goodbye.